Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. This is part 3 of working through the BuildingMagic machine on Hack Smarter. Now, if you want to follow along, you can subscribe to the Hack Smarter Labs for only $7.99 a month, or if you pay an annual subscription, I think it's like $6 a month. So I made it as affordable as I can possibly make it. We're releasing 3 to 4 new machines every single month with a heavy focus on realism. But the machine that we've been working through so far is called BuildingMagic, and this is part 3. So if this is the first video that you're watching, you're likely going to feel a little bit lost. I recommend you watch parts 1 and 2 before diving into part 3. All that being said, let me share my screen and we'll pick up right where we left off. So at the end of part 2, we had compromised this rhaggard user, and then we were looking at Bloodhound and we saw that rhaggard had the ability to change the password of hpoch. And we have a netrpc command right here to do it, but instead of like trying to get out of the screenshot, let's go back to Bloodhound real quick. Log into Bloodhound. I think the password text mark or 123 exclamation mark. It's the same password I use on my bank account. There we go. It did work. And if we search for rhaggard here in Bloodhound, and I'm just going to click him and my face might block it over on this left side. But if we scroll down on here, you can see outbound object control. And when we click into that, you can see it is mapped out for us right there that rhaggard has the ability to force change password on hpoch. And if we click into Linux abuse, making sure my face isn't blocking it, we can see the netrpc command right here. So I'm just going to copy that command and let's jump over to our notes and just get this command all typed up with the correct credentials, and then we will try to run it. So it says netrpc password. First, we need our target user, and our target user is hpoch that we want to change, and we'll go ahead and make hpoch's password hacksmarter123 as well. I think I'll have to escape that with single quotes. All right, and our domain is buildingmagic.local. Our controlled user is, of course, that rhaggard user. I'm sure I'm going to have a typo here. Our password, we'll go ahead and grab the password from rhaggard up here. And then finally, we need the, I believe, the IP for our domain controller. So I'm going to grab that right here. That is the actual name of the domain controller, which would be dc01.buildingmagic.local. So let's go ahead and give this a shot and see if we can successfully update the password for hpoch. We did not get an error, so it likely went through. One way we can check it is just with Netexec once again. So let's do an up arrow to get back to our Netexec command, and we'll just go ahead and try to log in as them, hacksmarter123 exclamation mark, and our user of hpoch. And success. And actually, something stands out to me right away. I want you guys to look at the results and tell me if there's anything that stands out to you for those of you watching the live stream. And I should have mentioned this before. If you're watching this after the fact, I make all these training videos while I'm streaming live. So if you do not follow me on YouTube, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, hit the little bell notification so that you're notified the next time I'm live. I live stream all of the time. But let's go ahead and copy this right here. We'll show that we did fully compromise them after running that command. To reset their password. To do a code block in Notion, it's 3 backticks. 1, 2, 3. All right, now to ask the class. Yep, Jesse F. Moore got it right. So if you are new to Active Directory hacking, when you are enumerating shares and you see that you can write to a share, that's a pretty big deal. In the real world, it's a big deal because you might be able to perform this attack, but in a lab machine like this, it's almost always the next step forward. The reason for that is if you can write to a share, you can drop a .link file or a .scf file. They're basically Windows shortcuts. And if another user goes to that share, views that share, you can actually use Responder to then pull down their hash and attempt to crack their hash. There's different tooling that we can use this for, but I believe you can actually use Netexec to drop .link files into any writable shares, and then you can spin up responder. I think it's called Slinky, but to be honest, I don't remember the syntax for that. So we'll have to go look at the Netexec wiki and see if we can figure it out. If that doesn't work, there's a bunch of tools that also do this. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pull this out. I like having my notes in its own window so I can just tab back and forth. And let's go to Netexec wiki, because I do not know how to do it. Hey, and we got the super chat from Zephyr. Just bought your Linux and Windows Sliver basic courses. I definitely see them coming in handy. Thank you. Hey, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for the support. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. Anyways, looking at Netexec, I don't know if we start typing Slinky if it will come up, and it does not. I think we might just need to look at how to work with the modules here in Netexec. So using modules, do Netexec the protocol -L to view available modules. All right, bet. SMB-L. All right. Oh, sweet. Well, thank you, Zephyr, for stopping by. Have a good evening, my friend. When we look at these modules, what we're looking for is Slinky, but I just want to point out, Netexec has so many amazing modules that you can use that I think many of us, myself included, aren't aware of. I would love to make a mini course with a lab sometime showing off some of these different features of Netexec. Anyways, here is what I was thinking of. There is this Slinky module, and it says it creates Windows shortcuts with the icon attribute containing a URI to the specified server, default SMB, and all shares with write permissions. So that's the name of the module. Let's go ahead and grab that and drop it into our notes. We'll say digging into the Slinky module of Netexec. I'll just drop into a code block. So now we need to learn, like, how do we actually use that module? And if we go to the wiki, it says using a module -m for module name, and then we can also view module options. So I'm not sure what options we need for that, but let's give it a shot together. We'll do Netexec SMB, and then we pass it the credentials, then the module. Our host is that, and then we can actually auto-complete it. But instead of shares, we want to do -m, and we'll just do Slinky because I'm curious what happens. Is there an alternative tool for Netexec? Yes, there is an alternative tool. I'll show you a few alternative tools once I figure out how to use Netexec properly. So we need to pass it options to figure out what options it needs. It says the name option is required. Okay, so we have the IP of the listening server, which I should probably spin up responder. Responder is LLM&R poisoning. Essentially, we can listen and make ourselves look like a fake SMB listening server thingy. I'm going to call this responder, and we'll do sudo responder -I. We'll listen on interface ton0, just because that's the interface our VPN is on. And now that we have responder listening, let's see if we can figure out how to use Slinky. So what are our options? We have server. I don't know if it just accepts server like that. Okay, no, I just want to know the syntax of it. Does it do a -server? Okay, so it says the Slinky module. Oh, you know what? I actually think you need to do -O. Expect at least one argument. Okay. All right, there. I figured out how to do the modules. It's a -O because you're going to pass it some options, and then it's server equals that. So we need server for sure. We also need to do shares, specific shares to write to. I think our share is called the file share. So we'll do shares. I think it's just called file share. Let's look at our notes. BuildingMagic's file-share, yes. Thank you, Edwin. I appreciate it. Now, what are our other options? We have our shares. We don't need to ignore. If you're doing a real engagement, you might want to clean it up. We won't do that. ICO, nope. we need to give it the name of the file name. We're going to call it Hack Smarter because no way anyone would know that Hack Smarter is malicious. Cross our fingers, hit enter, and hope this works. Boom. It found a writable share. It created a .link file on the file share. This is a command that we really want to copy into our notes for that syntax there. So I'm going to do like, I want to add some keywords. Writing link files into writable SMB shares with Netexec. And we have the full syntax there. So -m for our module, -o, and then we pass it options, server, shares, and the name of the file. If we go back over to responder, you can see we already grabbed an NTLM v2 hash for hgrangon, and you can see it right here. I'm going to copy this information and add that to my notes. And we'll make a new h2. And we'll say compromising hgrangon. I think that's their name. Paste in their hash right there, hgrangon. Yep, I did that right. And now what I want to do is see if we can crack this offline. So I'm going to copy this full hash, right-click copy. We can go ahead and close out responder. And I'll just close out the tab. We'll keep things clean. I'm going to do nano grangon hash.txt, paste in the hash, save the file, and now let's run hashcat against it. We'll use the classic rocku.txt wordless, hit enter on our keyboard. It should auto-detect the hash. You can see it's net NTLM v2. If it doesn't auto-detect it on hashcat, you sometimes have to do -m and then specify the hash. I have noticed for most like Windows and network hashes, it does a pretty good job of auto-detecting the hash type. While hashcat runs, this is a great time for a water break. Network Chuck drinks coffee. I got water. And we have already cracked the hash, ladies and gentlemen. So let me go ahead and grab this, add it to our notes as well. And we'll just drop down and show that we cracked the hash, and the hash is going to be, or the password is going to be magic forever. So we have a new set potentially of credentials, hgrangon, and with the password magic forever. Now, as usual, every time that we have compromised a new user, as we've been working through this lab, is we want to verify, hey, are these credentials actually legit? What up, Hoi Manoi? Good to have you back. To do that, we can once again use Netexec. So I'm going to use Netexec SMB, BuildingMagic.local-u hgrangon-p, I think it was magic forever, and shares. And we have successfully compromised yet another user in the Active Directory environment. They can also read and write the file share, but we already did that. We already abused that, so that's not going to be needed for our purposes, likely. So let's go ahead and grab this. Whoops, I somehow got out of my VM there. Let's go over to our notes and show that we have fully compromised this user. And I will do an H3, and we'll just call this Bloodhound analysis. Now, I introduced Bloodhound, I believe, in part 2 of working through this series, but every time you compromise a new user, it's always worth looking at Bloodhound and saying, hey, what permissions does this user have in the environment? Do they have any interesting permissions that will allow us to move forward? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's switch over to Bloodhound. What up, Unknown? Good to have you here. And I already forgot the user's name. hgrangon. All right, we have this hgrangon user. We can first mark them as pwned. And now on the left side, what we're looking for is any interesting permissions. They're a member here. Let me, whoops, geez, I don't want to move the whole screen. Come on, Tyler. I want to move myself across the screen so you guys can see better. We click the member tab. They are a member of, one interesting group for sure, and that's remote management users. That should give us the ability to get full CLI access on the machine. It says members of this group can use WMI resources over management protocols such as WS management via the Windows Remote Management Service. This applies only to WMI namespaces that grant access to the user. What that means for us is we can use a tool called Evil WinRM to authenticate to the domain controller or the target machine as this user. Let's go ahead and give that a shot, and I'll add that to my notes. H. Grangon is a member of the remote management group. This should allow us to use Evil WinRM. All right, Evil WinRM /u H Grangon /p magic for ever /I dc01.buildingmagic.local. See if my syntax was correct there, doing it from memory. And we have successfully gotten remote access to the machine. We'll do who am I? And once again, let's grab this for our note showing the exact steps that we performed. Useful for learning, but also useful on a real pen test engagement in case the client gets a notification and they're like, hey, did you do this at this time, or what command did you run? Always a good idea to record your commands. I don't think you can clear in WinRM. Let me move myself back over now. I'll skitter to the other side of the screen. And I just realized, there we go. The screen was cut off a little bit. Hopefully that wasn't too bad for you guys. I didn't realize the bottom wasn't there. I think when I was moving the screen around, I messed it up. Let's go to do dir, and we'll just begin enumerating. So we have nothing in documents. Let's go out one directory. We'll do dir. Let's see if we can grab the user flag. If we go to desktop, we can do dir, and there we have the user flag, as well as the salmon system. I wonder, did this not clean up the last time I compromised it? I don't think it did. So you won't see this if you're doing the machine yourself. As you can imagine, I tested this machine before it was released. And you know what happened? I don't think I reset my machine when I tested it. And as a result, I don't think these artifacts got cleaned up. So we'll just ignore that. I'll even just delete it. We'll pretend like we didn't see that. There. Now, when we do dir, SAM and system are not there, but we do have the user flag. So if you're following along on the platform yourself, you can go ahead and grab the user flag. I'm not going to show it on the stream, but I showed you every step in order to get to that. If you want to grab the user flag, you just do type user.text, and it will give you the user flag. Now, I'm going to actually quiz you guys, since you just saw the SAM and system files. What does that mean? Why is that important? For those of you in the live stream, give me like a one-sentence reason why that's important, or why that is something surprising to see in a user's desktop. Crack it with John? Not quite. Yeah, you can dump hashes. Exactly. Now, the way you would know that is if you do whoamipriv, which is a standard thing to do anytime you are on a Windows machine and you're doing post enumeration or post exploitation enumeration. A big command you always want to run is whoamipriv. It's sort of like when you're on a Linux box and you do sudo-l to see what permissions you have, to see if you have any sudo permissions. whoami/priv says, hey, what privileges do I have in this environment? And when we do that, you could even Google this. Actually, I'm curious. I bet Gemini or GPT would be able to help you with this. But if you look at these and you're not used to Windows, you may not know, like, okay, what are these? I can add workstations to the domain. I can back up files. I can change notifications. I can increase working set privileges. You can do a little bit of Googling on each one of those. But for those of you in the live stream right now, which one of those privileges stands out to you the most? Give you guys a second to answer. Backup. Yep. So Netflix says backup is a great one. Jesse F. Moore says SE backup privileges. Exactly. Because since we're able to back up files and directories, we can back up, as you saw from when I didn't clear this from testing, you can back up the system and the SAM files. And then we can use in-packet secrets dump in order to dump the hashes. And then we can try to crack them. We can try to pass the hashes. A lot of stuff that we're able to do. But yes, SE backup privilege is what stands out to me as well. So I'm just going to copy this, go over to our notes, and we'll just say like post exploitation. And we will say the SE backup privilege would allow us to back up files and when I'll answer that at the end of this, of us working through this machine. But let's go ahead and back up these files. The syntax for this, I believe, is going to be reg save hklm sam, and now we'll just save it to our desktop as sam and hit enter. And let's make sure it actually worked, and it did. Sam is right there. And we want to do the same thing as well, but for system. Like so. And then we have system backed up. And now we can go ahead and download these files. I don't know what directory am I in. Okay, I'm in BuildingMagic. So in Evil WinRM, you can actually download and upload files directly from the terminal. It's one of the cool features of Evil WinRM. So we can do download SAM. And I download system, although system might take a little bit longer. Do 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 do. Progress 6%. All right, Edwin, to answer your question, I don't know. I've never heard of an exploit for like the NTP or name time protocol. Potentially there is. I've just never looked into exploits for that. But yeah, guys, the other cool thing about Evil WinRM, not only can you download files, but you can also upload files directly from your host machine. So imagine for a moment we had like WinPeas. WinPeas is a very common enumeration script when you're attacking Windows. We don't have to do the whole Python web server download. You can quite literally just do upload and then specify a path to the file on your machine, and you can go ahead and upload that file. While this downloads, because we have the time, let's imagine for a moment that we did not know anything about these different privileges. And so if we were to Google SE backup privilege, we'll just say Windows. Let's see what pops up. So we have some suspicious remote registry access, blah, blah, blah. We have a blog right here, Windows PrivS with SE backup privileges. We have this, another article on accessing articles you shouldn't be able to have access to, a pen test lab. So this would give us some information if we did not know what we were doing. So domain escalation, this is backup operator. Let's see how they ended up doing this. So they're showing off a script, it looks like, and then yep, you use in-packet secrets dump. We won't have to specify security. We'll do SAM and system because we'll use the local flag. If I just type privs real quick. Being in your stream makes me feel less alone. Thank you. Hey, thank you. I appreciate you being here. I'm glad that you find these streams helpful just to hang out together. I don't know who this user is, so shout out to Nehruz, maybe. Let's see how accurate this blog is. Dish Shadow and RoboCopy. It's another way of going about that with their permissions. Reg save system, right? All right, is our stuff done yet? It is. Okay, cool. And if we ls here, we have the SAM and the system files. Now we can use what's called in-packet secrets dump, which comes pre-installed on Kali Linux. We'll do in-packet secrets dump, and it should turn blue, meaning that it found the binary. And we're just going to do -SAM and then specify the SAM, -system, specify the system, and then we're going to say local. And you can see from that, we were able to grab some of the local users' hashes, specifically administrator, guest, and default account. Let's copy this, drop back over to our notes. And I'm just going to drop that into a code block. And now what could be easy is we have the NTLM hash right here for the local administrator. Now, this is actually very real world. I was just on an internal engagement that I was able to elevate my privileges to NT system authority on a Windows jump box, a jump box that other people sign into. And because I was NT system authority, I was able to do this type of attack and get access to the hashes stored locally. And I was able to get their administrator's hash. It wasn't called administrator, it was a different name, but essentially what it was their local admin account for configuring these different jump boxes. Well, since I had the local admin's account hash, I didn't know the password, but I was able to pass the hash, and now I just expanded from local admin on one machine to local admin on multiple machines because I was able to do a pass the hash attack with the local administrator account. So what you're seeing is very much real world if you're on an internal engagement. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to copy this hash right here, and you can actually pass the hash with evil WinRM. We'll do evil WinRM -u administrator -h for hash, paste in the hash, -i, and dc01.buildingmagic.local. Hey, what's up, Oreo Bite? Good to have you here, my friend. Yeah, so he who controls said, are there any good checklists for AD pen test? Orange Cyber has an amazing pen test. It looks like the admin account might be disabled. That's why it's timing out. But let me show this to you guys real quick. If you Google Orange Cyber Defense, this is an amazing mind map when it comes to attacking Active Directory. So we have here, I'll drop the link here in chat. But if you click into the 2025 mind map, you got to zoom out a little bit. But I mean, this will walk you through a pretty full Active Directory attack chain as you work your way through the AD. There's a few things that misses, but this is really, really well done, especially for something like the OSCP or CPTS or PNPT. This mind map is an amazing resource. So I recommend you check it out. I'll maybe walk through it sometime on stream. But anyways, you can see that this did not actually work. And the reason it didn't work is this organization must be following security best practices. You see, a security best practice is making sure you disable the local admin account on the machine so that if something like this happens, you can't pass the hash and gain access. But there's always different ways to approach this. Because what end users typically do, what you probably do even if you don't realize it, is what's called password reuse. The password you use in one place, you likely reuse it for other accounts. I once again see this all the time when I'm doing internal pen test with a password or a hash that I have compromised. So if you have a hash, such as for this administrator account, and it's not working for the admin, it's always worth trying that hash on other accounts in the AD environment. Now, I don't even know if I dumped all the accounts. I don't think I did, but we can go ahead and do that right now. So if I do Netexec SMB, hacking magic, wait, I think I had the auto on this one. I'm going to exit out of evil WinRM. Actually, you know what? Let's go back into evil WinRM. We have a list of users right here. I was going to use Netexec to dump all the users, but we have R Haggard. We've already compromised R Haggard. We've also compromised H Potch. I think we compromise R. Whittleton in the beginning and H. Grangan. The only user we haven't compromised is A. Flatch, I believe. All those other users sound familiar to me. So yeah, we compromise R. Whittleton, R. Haggard, H. Patch, and Grangon. So the only computer we didn't compromise is A. Flatch. So I'm curious. If we do the same attack, but instead of administrator, if we do that other user, so maybe A. Flatch is an admin and he or she is reusing their password, we hit enter. And we just compromised A. Flatch. Let's go ahead and add that to our notes. Compromising A. Flatch via password reuse via the shared hash. We'll do a code block, drop the information in right there. It's showing that we have compromised the A. Flatch user. And before we start looking at that, let's just glance at Bloodhound. And so you see this little diamond right there? That means that this is a high tier target, likely a domain admin. Admin count true. You can see it right there. And if we scroll down, he is a member of the domain admins group and administrators. So we have fully compromised the BuildingMagic Active Directory environment. If we would like to get the root flag, I'm guessing it's in users, administrator, desktop, dir, and you can type root.txt and grab the final root flag and you will successfully complete this machine. Now, the cool thing about all the machines that you complete on the HackSmarter platform is you get an official certificate of completion, like actually verified as a QR code for people to verify the certificate of completion, and you get CEU hours. I think this machine rewards 3 or 4 CEU hours. So make sure you do that and you grab the certificate of completion, share it on social media, tag me. I would love to see it on LinkedIn or whatever platform you use. But ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our detailed walkthrough of the BuildingMagic machine on HackSmarter. If you do not subscribe to HackSmarter yet, make sure you check it out. We are growing the platform every single month with hands-on, realistic lab environments. Go to hacksmarter.org and subscribe today. But thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.